Welcome back, I'm the Redstone Warper here, warping redstone one machine at a time. But today I'm actually starting the first of many videos in my brand new Redstone Foundations Series. This video will be on dust, torches, and repeaters. Lately I've spoken to a lot of people who want to get into technical Minecraft but don't know how or don't know where to start, and get confused when watching older and outdated tutorials. So I decided to make this series to try to help more people get into redstone. Obviously, most people have a basic understanding of these components, but my goal with this series is to take you wherever you are as a redstone engineer and speed you up to where redstone is today, as well as to give you a deeper understanding of the mechanics at play. Minecraft is an ever-changing game, and mechanics are added and removed as Minecraft evolves. As the series goes on, the topics covered will build on each other, so at the end of the series, you can begin warping redstone too. My apologies for the longer intro there. Of course, most of you already probably know how this stuff works, so if you do, feel free to let me know every mistake that I make in the comments. Redstone dust is the most basic component of almost every contraption. At first glance, it's pretty simple. Powering one end of it will power an entire line 15 blocks away when it is powered at full strength. An easy way to think about this is if you were to power it at a strength level of 3, it will go 3 blocks, 4 blocks, so on and so forth. So the strongest signal strength you can have is 15, so it will travel 15 blocks long. Before we get too far, a nice little trick that you can use if you are trying to debug redstone, especially as you get to the lower signal strengths, it gets kind of hard to tell when it's lit or not. So you can press the F3 button to bring up your F3 screen, and when you look at the redstone dust, it will tell you the power level on the side. This is a nice way to be able to know what power level your redstone dust is at so that you know how far it will reach. Now, the mysteries of redstone dust don't end there. As of the 1.16 update, Mojang made dust a little bit different, but for the most part the same, where if it looks like it's pointing into a block, it will power it. So if we just power this redstone dust like so, every block on the side here is getting powered, as you can see with these lamps, because the redstone dust is pointing into the block. But if we were to redirect that dust, it now no longer powers the blocks on the side because it is not pointing into it. Now, there are some weird exceptions, and we will get to those in just a little bit. The other thing they changed in the 1.16 update is the ability to toggle it from a dot to a cross. When it is in a dot mode, it no longer powers the blocks on the side. So if we just add these lamps on the side to kind of give you an indicator of where it's powered, you can see only this bottom block is powered. So this lamp is lighting up because it's taking the power from the block that the redstone dust is sitting on. This is especially helpful if you don't want to power things to the side and you only want to power the block on the bottom. Now, there's some other cool things with redstone dust where you can actually redirect the dust using target blocks. So if we place target blocks here, you can see that all the dust is getting redirected into the target block, which means that we can power this row of lamps, while on this side, because the dust is not pointed into it, these lamps are off. This is probably one of my favorite features they added in 1.16. Another feature with redstone dust is its different interactions when interacting with non-solid blocks. So you can see that if we just run some of this redstone dust over this glass here, while it looks like it's connected all the way across, it will go up the glass but not down the glass. Which is definitely kind of a interesting mechanic, but one that is very useful. So you can see if we power this top one, the signal does not travel down because these are non-solid blocks that it's going down. And this can be very useful if you need to make signals that are one directional, so that like if you power on one side, it won't affect the other side. It's also very helpful for sending power upwards. So you can make a simple redstone dust tower like so by just alternating the glass and redstone like this, and because the redstone dust can power through the non-solid blocks, it goes all the way to the top. Whereas if you use solid blocks for something like this, the redstone signal actually gets cut off, which you can see by just this dust is now across, but if we take this block away or use a non-solid block, it stays aligned. The last couple of things to note about redstone dust, it is one of the more laggy components in redstone, which is why it receives a lot of hate from the community sometime. But all I have to say to those people is show me a contraption that does not use dust in the machine or in any of the crafting recipes. Now the next component we're going to talk about is the redstone torch. The redstone torch produces power on all four of its sides when placed like this. You can also place it on the side of a block, in which it will power these blocks, but it will also, if we just build up and place a torch here, it will also power this bottom block here as well. It will also power any block that is on top of it. So this block is being powered by the torch is pointing into it, but it will not power this block right here. Now, if we put a redstone lamp here, it does get powered because the lamp is able to be soft powered, and we're going to get to that in a second when we talk about repeaters. A very common way to use torches is in something like this, to make a torch tower so that you can send the signal upwards, flicking all of the torches as they alternate on and off. And you can also create different styles of torch repeaters if you need more delay, or if you need a pattern to alternate at certain levels. Like for a flushing mob system, you might use a torch tower like this, as each block on one side is going to be powered and the other side will be depowered, which gives you this nice alternating pattern where every torch on this side is always going to be powered. Now, in the old days of Minecraft, before repeaters existed, the best way to repeat a redstone signal was to do something like this, where you can have your input signal over here. So this would have like a line of 15 redstone dust coming into it. It would power this torch, which then would depower, which would then let this one turn back on so that you could continue the redstone signal onwards. And when you turn this one off, this redstone line will be off. The other way to do this is to actually put 15 redstone dust in between this part so that you can have a longer line that has a little bit of less delay. Sometimes people also refer to torches as inverters, as they invert whatever signal comes into them. So if it's off, it's on, and if it's on, it's off. And so any redstone signal powering into a block will disable all of the torches that are touching it. Another thing about torches is they are not instant. They take one redstone tick to activate and one redstone tick to deactivate. So you can see that there is a little bit of a delay when we turn them on and off, unlike redstone dust, which is instantaneous. Another interesting feature, and we will talk about this more in the redstone clocks video, which will be in a couple videos time, is if you place a torch on the side of a block, which then powers this block right here, and then power dust, you can see that it begins to make this dust flash over and over again. And every time we change this, it updates the torch again where it burns out. If this flashes too fast, it will burn out and will be stuck like this. But updating it, like placing a block or a melon growing, in the case of like pumpkin and melon farms, will activate it again and cause it to start pulsing again. And just as a teaser, one way you can make a clock like this, called a torch burnout clock, is by placing 3 or more of these torches around the block, where one of these torches will constantly re-update the other ones as they continue to burn out. These patterns are always kind of random and definitely really interesting to see, but the part of the clock that we actually use is going to be this signal right here. One quick thing I should explain is the difference between a game tick and a redstone tick. A redstone tick actually takes the time of 2 game ticks. Now, a normal Minecraft world, assuming that you have a computer and it is running it at the correct speed, you will have 20 game ticks per second, 10 redstone ticks. What this means is that if we are talking in redstone ticks, the torch takes 1 redstone tick to depower. But if we were talking in game ticks, which will be more important for more complex machines, then it takes 2 game ticks in order to turn off. This is a little bit of a more advanced topic, but something you should at least keep in the back of your head as we continue this series. Finally, we get to the repeater. Now the repeater is special because when it is in its default state, it takes 1 redstone tick or 2 game ticks to power. You can see this by us placing a lamp, which you should also keep in mind takes 2 game ticks or 1 redstone tick to power on and depower. That's why it stays on even after the repeater is turned off. But if we power it, you can see there is a little bit of a delay before propagating the signal to the next repeater. Now, if we change these timings, we can go from 1 redstone tick to 2, 3, and 4 redstone ticks, which will each increase the delay for it to propagate across. This is very useful for creating machines with different timings so that things can happen in the proper order, or when delaying a signal so that you can wait for other processes in your machine to finish. And it is at this point where it will become important to understand what the difference between soft and hard powering is. Now, if you put dust into a block like this, this is known as soft powering, because on the other side, redstone dust will not turn on even though this dust is running into the block. Now, if we place something like a lamp, that can be powered on because it's capable of being soft powered when turning on, unlike redstone dust. Repeaters can also be soft powered and then produce a hard power output. What this means is that when we have a repeater facing into a block or a torch facing into a block, which both hard power things, you can see that we can take a redstone dust output because it is hard powered and the signal passes through the block and doesn't stop at the block. Other redstone components such as comparators, among other things, can also hard power blocks, but we will get to those as the series continues. Now, something I did not originally know about comparators when I first started off with redstone is the fact that you can lock them. In fact, the first time that I saw that, I thought it was some April Fool's joke or something because I had no idea you could do this. So if we place down a repeater line like this and turn it on and off, it behaves as normal. But if we power this repeater pointed into this middle one, we can lock it, which means that if we take this repeater out, even though this is unpowered, because this repeater is locked, it stays on. And the same thing will happen if we lock it when it is off. The signal does not get through. This is actually really useful for building some different kinds of machines, including some memory buffers that I've used using this design. A little handy trick for making repeater lines so that you can repeat a signal with as little delay as possible is to actually use your redstone dust coming in, and instead of just putting a repeater down and having it continue, what we can do is have an extra block here and here, meaning that this can be a signal strength 1, which the repeater picks up through the block, and then it pumps the signal through the block, meaning that this will be signal strength 15 and can go another 15 blocks. It's a small difference, but over time it will save you on delay if that's what's important. One last thing to know about repeaters is that when they are on higher ticks, they can actually increase the pulse length. So if we set up this repeater here so that we have 4 repeaters on 1 tick and 1 repeater on 4 ticks, these will have the same timings, but if I flick this lever on and off, this lamp will turn off first because the pulse stayed the same, versus this pulse got extended by the repeater as I flicked it. That is everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, found it informational, or you found a mistake, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And next time we will begin talking about logic gates using torches and repeaters. This has been the Redstone Warper. Thanks for watching.